Just imagine. A place so wealthy that even in Europe, its riches were spoken of in whispers. Merchants measured their fortunes not only in gold, but in caravans loaded with silk and spices. That place was Bengal. In the mid-18th century, Bengal was not just the richest region in India, it was the economic heart of the East. Ships were constantly docking at the port of Kolkata, while in the palaces of Murshidabad, wealth seemed to flow endlessly. But there was something no one noticed. A storm was approaching, and this storm was not caused by war, but by the ambition and betrayal within people. The young Nawab. At the center of this story was a young ruler, Siraj ud-Daulah. He was only in his early 20s. When he took the throne, he ruled Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, but at the same time he was surrounded by enemies within his own court. Siraj was intelligent, but he was impatient. And most importantly, he had no tolerance for corruption. He began regulating taxes, he punished those who stole from the treasury, he restricted the privileges within the court. For the people, this was a good thing. But for the powerful elites, it was a direct threat. A quietly growing betrayal around Siraj, there were three important figures: Mir Jafar, the commander of the army; Jagat Seth, the most powerful banker in Bengal; and Omi Chand, a merchant who always wanted to be on the winning side. As Siraj carried out reforms, their power began to decline. And slowly, one single feeling began to grow inside them: greed. A new power emerges. At the same time, another power was rising in Bengal. Not a kingdom, not an empire, a company, the British East India Company. On paper, they were only engaged in trade, but in reality, they had their own army, they had spies, and they had far greater plans. For them, Bengal was the most valuable prize in the world, because its wealth surpassed even some European kingdoms. Robert Clive's plan. In 1756, a young British officer arrived in Bengal, Robert Clive. Clive realized something very important. Bengal could not be defeated from the outside, but it could be broken from within. And everything needed for that was already there: ego, jealousy, and money. The sale of a kingdom. Clive secretly established connections within the court. He made an offer to Mir Jafar: remain neutral during the battle, and become the new Nawab of Bengal. Jagat Seth would provide the funding. The others would remain silent. The plan was simple. Siraj would fall. Mir Jafar would take the throne, and the British would take control. A kingdom would be sold in exchange for gold. The Battle of Plassey, June 23, 1757. The plains of Plassey. Siraj had 50,000 soldiers. Clive had only 3,000. On paper, the outcome was very clear. But there was something Siraj did not know. A large part of his army had already been bought. When the battle began, cannons fired, but Mir Jafar's forces did not move at all. And within hours, Bengal collapsed. An empire fell. But not because of war, because of betrayal. The moment everything changed, Siraj fled. But shortly after, he was captured and executed. Mir Jafar took the throne. But in reality, he had no real power. True control now belonged to the East India Company. When Robert Clive entered Murshidabad, the treasury doors were opened. Gold, diamonds, emeralds. All of it was sent to London, and this wealth financed the rise of Britain. Factories, ships, railways, all grew with Bengal's riches. The price of betrayal. Mir Jafar realized the truth too late. He had become king. But in reality, he was only a puppet. Every decision depended on British approval. Taxes increased. Trade was brought under control, and Bengal slowly became poorer. The land that was once among the richest in the world began to struggle with famine. The expansion of an empire Plassey was only the beginning. Then came the Battle of Buxar, and the East India Company took control of Bengal's tax system. They were no longer just traders. They were ruling a nation. and they use the same method again and again: divide, buy, and rule. The legacy of Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar died a few years later, but his name remained in history in a very different way. Even today in India, calling someone Mir Jafar means calling them a traitor, because the betrayal that changed a nation's fate became identified with him. The lesson of the story: this is not just the story of a battle, it is the story of a truth. Empires are not always destroyed from the outside. Sometimes they decay from within. That is exactly what happened in Bengal. A kingdom was not destroyed by cannon fire, but lost through gold. Ending today, the rivers of Bengal still flow, but the impact of Plassey is still felt, because sometimes a single decision can change the fate of centuries.